You're listening to Cambria on the radio. This is Jennifer Lee Feldman, aka Dr. Feldy. But we have Taylor Andrews right here. He's a comedian, he's a comedy writer. He's one of the three creators of Grizzly Guys Comedy Productions. Very funny. He's a comedy album called Incongruous, and one coming out like today, tomorrow, the next day called Born Again Virgin. I don't think he's a virgin, and he's here right now. Welcome.
It's great to be here. So excited to do some talking about comedy stuff.
Comedy, comedy. All
Oh
right. So
yeah.
now some people in the entertainment industry, I'd say like more mainstream film than indie, they say comedy's dead. It's not getting funding, that won't make money. So why are you spending so much time producing hilarious comedy videos?
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, it's something that I think is fun. I think a lot of people they get into the show business with the idea that they're either going to make it and be famous or like, build this like crazy following in order to make money. But it's like there's better ways to make money, and there's always been better ways to make money. So why would you come
Right.
into this unless it's something that you enjoy?
Yes.
So I don't expect to make anything, from the content what I'm doing. I want to create content that I think is cool. I share it with people. If they enjoy it, they watch it. That's cool. If it gets a million views, it goes viral. You kind of go from there. But um,
Right.
the passion has to be there, and I think that for me, I just really enjoy. I enjoy laughing, and I enjoy making silly stuff. So
When did you notice that you enjoyed comedy? Was there a time where
yeah,
you're like, oh, I like this feeling?
it was interesting because I didn't start stand up. I like when I started stand up, I didn't really watch stand up like growing up as a kid because most people are like, oh, like stand up as a kid, like this is what I grew up on, this is why I do it. For me,
Right.
I started playing the guitar at 19, um, and I stumbled across Stephen Lynch, musical comedian. I had a Comedy Central special back in I think like 2000 or something like that. And I just kind of like fell in love with kind of the funny songs that he had done. Some of this content and stuff that I'd seen online where it was like just like I remember this one song was called Wrong Hole by Taryn Southern. It was just like these funny things. I was like, oh, I really appreciate music because I had grown up in theater and I had grown up just kind of just appreciating the different components of singing instrumentals, kind of different things like that. And then kind of combining it together with, the comedy. It was just such a unique take. And for me, I started with music comedy, kind of drifted into the comedy, and then uh, it just kind of built from project to project. So I found my way in here, I think, just kind of randomly. But I probably college time was when I was like, okay, like I like being funny. But I mean, growing up, like as a kid, you know. I don't know. I think people who do comedy, there's an element of like a survival mechanism. It's like you got to be
Uh,
if you're funny as a kid, there's something that probably happened in order to get you here. So,
right, right, right. Interesting. All right. Well, I must have had a lot of things happen as a kid because I've been doing this
oh
like
yeah,
my whole life. All right.
oh yeah,
So I'm gonna get to a specific video I just watched yesterday or 2 days ago. I really loved it. I showed my dad, and
yeah.
it's called Rambo Bakes a Pie, which you made. And has Basim. He's
Mhm.
hilarious, and don't get rid of him ever. So basically, Rambo Bakes a Pie. It's like Rambo has these PTSD war flashbacks while baking, I guess, like a cherry pie or some type of berry pie. So
Yeah.
where did you come up with that one?
So we actually, when we started writing the sketch comedy stuff, we took a class, me and Basim, and we were just trying to figure
Uh,
out, like, okay, like, what is the actual structure of it? And one of the class assignments was character acting. So it was like, okay, we each wrote, different types of characters, and he came up with Rambo Bakes a Pie. Then we brought it into the
um,
group. We kind of punched it up a little bit, and it kind of turned into what it was. It was really fun
so
shoot. It's the whole thing was in my kitchen, so the whole thing
mhm.
cost like $10. We just bought the pie. I think he already had the costume. Like that was it. So it's really cool. We had
Wow.
the two camera setup, kind of going back and forth. You take something like something so simple as Rambo has PTSD, and you kind of turn it into something like that. But I mean, Basim did a great job, kind of doing the
Yeah,
character acting.
so
He'll
great.
probably disagree, but yeah,
What?
yeah, yeah. It was a fun time. So
Why would he disagree? I thought he was like phenomenal. It's so funny. The Rambo
oh
bakes a pie. Rambo bakes
oh
pie.
yeah.
I want to see him have his own
He
cooking
didn't like
show.
the way that he was talking. He's
Really?
got to work on his accent a little bit. He was like, took him a while
I
to
don't
even get to what he was doing before. So, oh yeah.
I think you should do
So, but
more
no,
of
he's
those.
he's a good actor.
Do yeah, he's great. Do have him do a whole cooking show.
Yeah,
Rambo cooking, Rambo teaching,
yeah.
Rambo love advice. I don't know. I think you should continue that. All right.
Oh
So
yeah.
now
We're gonna have
I'm
to.
not making Oh yeah, continue.
Oh, I was gonna say we're gonna have to get you involved somehow. It's gonna be like the Rambo Jen cook off or something like that.
G.I. Jane and Rambo or something like that. Or it could be his
Yeah,
drill
you gotta
sergeant,
shave your head.
because he's kind of a crybaby in this in a little bit, but maybe I can help him toughen up. I don't know. As a vampire, maybe. So anyway, moving on now. I'm not really making any time for stand-up comedy nowadays, but I did a lot of
Hmm.
it for about 2 years. And I'd go over a lot of my jokes with my mom, my dad, and she'd say with conviction, when to some of the jokes that got roaring laughter that on the recording, I even heard old people say, "Oh, that's a good one. Oh, she's funny.
Hmm.
That's good." And she'd go, "That's not funny. That's not funny." So is there any comedy content that you made that got a like "that's not funny" reaction, but then other people thought it was like best thing ever?
I think Rambo Bakes a Pie was one of them because we watched it and we were like, "What the fuck did we just make?" And then we posted it, and then it was one of those things where it's like, you were saying it. We had a couple other people be like, "That was like a really cool sketch."
Yeah.
It was funny. We kind of enjoyed it. I think sometimes when you write things down on paper, and I think just as a comedian in general, like you'll write things down on paper, you'll perform them for such a long time, and then eventually, like, you forget that it's funny. So if you thought it was funny at one point, you read it, or you watch it like a couple, 100 times in order to like perfect it, or even with stand up, like writing jokes, it's like, okay, like, I've written this joke, I've written this joke, I've written this joke, and then I've got to tweak it, tweak it, tweak it, tweak it. You almost become numb to the punchline, and then you're like, what the hell am I talking about? So I know
True.
sometimes I get on stage and I'm like, as I'm saying the joke, I'm like, this is stupid. But I thought it was funny at one point, right? So it's
Right.
like, if the thought got on paper, I think it's one of those things where it's like, hey, like, it's worth exploring. And then, minds are different, right? But we're all similar in the sense of like, if I find something funny and I can present it into a digestible manner, um, then somebody else will eventually find it funny. But and then also like sometimes like you find stuff funny and then nobody else finds it funny and then you got to be like, okay, why? So you get a little bit more
Right.
the opposite side of the spectrum where it's like, okay, like we've got to like rework this, we've got to tweak this, maybe this is a good premise, maybe this is a good punchline, but it's just not getting to the audience exactly where you need to be getting it.
Right, right. And by the time you've done a joke, I don't know, say 20 times, 50 times, and you have it to where you need it, where it's perfect for the audience, you might be so bored with it that you don't think it's funny. Kind of like that quote, behind every beautiful woman is a man that's, behind there tired of, that
Her bullshit.
let's just say he's not so excited by her looks anymore.
Yeah.
Repetition can make things stale. So maybe you just
Oh
got
yeah.
bored of Rambo after hanging out with him for so long. I don't know.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it was an interesting sketch. I think when you're editing things, you watch it and then like you look at like frames. So like a frame is 1/24th of a second. So you're
Mhm.
going through and you're saying, okay, like what is like the difference between shifting a frame between like 1/24th of a second or like changing the color on things a little bit, and you get into the nitty gritty, and then you're not even focused on the comedic elements of things. And it becomes a little bit draining. So I
Yeah.
know the thing that I just shot that you were a part of, it was called Grace. I'm calling it the sit on my face video for YouTube just to make it uh easier. I think I
Clicky.
can say that on here.
Find out.
But we can cut it out in post if not. But it was as I was editing it, I was like, I'm actually really enjoying the elements that I had put into it. And then as I
Nice.
went back into coloring it, I was like, this isn't funny anymore. But then I have to
Ah,
remind myself, okay, like this was funny at one point, you know, I
right.
but after the 600th time of watching it, it's like, what is this? You know?
Right. 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 Right.
Yeah.
That's true. That's true. All right.
Mhm.
So I'm gonna move on, totally different subject now. Jokes and
Okay.
friendships. They do. If you lived long enough and told enough jokes, you probably lost some friends. I'll give you a quick aside. I went on Instagram. I saw a friend who's not no longer my friend anymore. She blocked me on everything, and she posted, "You're never alone." So I commented, "Unless you have MPD, unless you have multiple personality disorder." Just being silly. No malice,
Okay.
no negativity. I get a message on Facebook. That was Instagram. This
Hmm.
woman's like in her 50s at the time. Like she's a grown woman with children. And she goes like, "What did you mean by that?" It's like multiple personality disorder. You're not alone.
Hmm.
She's like, "Well, I have a kid with multiple personality disorder." It's like this happens to me all the time where I make a joke about something very specific and it turns out that person's like the only person with that ailment who has a sensitivity towards it. Never heard from them ever again. So question, you ever lose any friendships or business because of your comedy?
I mean, I think in terms of friendships is one of those things. If you lose friendships, were they really your friend to begin with? I've
True.
definitely gotten in trouble with my comedy, you know. So I think we've talked about this before. Like, I posted my comedy and I ended up losing my teaching license for a couple of months, just because it was not good for the job. And one of the things that I had to realize was like, okay, like is it the comedy or is it the career path that I was going towards? So it's like, you know, I had to make a decision. I had to say, okay, like I like doing this. This makes me happy. I'm going to surround myself by people and, you know, careers and different types of things that allow me to do this. And
Yeah.
with that stuff, it's easy. It's very linear because it's, hey, I'm going down this one path. But with friends, it's a little tougher because you're like, there's like a social status that you try to create. And it's like,
Mm,
you just get bombarded randomly. And you're like, okay, like this person is messaging me. And it's like, why? I wrote a song.
mm.
It was called Love Doctor. Um, and one of my best childhood friends. The song was a very political topic. It was about abortions. And my very childhood friend. I mean, we from probably like 7 to, you know, now it was like, um, we were very close. And she just like messaged me randomly, like going off, and I was like, what the? It's like, what are we? Yes, we did it. No cursing. I was like, what are we doing here? Like, and I'm like, if you respect the craft that I'm doing, you're my true friend, like, even if you
Right.
don't respect the craft that I'm doing and you're my true friend, you should at least give me the safe space to be able to post what I want to post. And if you're not comfortable with it, it's like, hey, like maybe take a step back and recognize, is it me that you're not comfortable with it, or is it the thing that you're not comfortable with? So I with friends, it's one of those things where it's like, you know, if you lose them, uh, they weren't your friend to begin with. And if you want to do comedy and you want to do comedy writing and you want to do sketch comedy, it's like people are going to get offended. You kind of have to accept it. You're going to go mentally insane for a little bit, but ultimately, like, in this political climate, it's like at the end of the day, we're no different than the people who get offended because we're just trying to connect to people and make them laugh too. And it's important to remember that like the thing that we do where we share and we create different content, it is important because it allows us to, you know, it's healing in a sense. Um,
Yeah.
and you know, the one thing I've always realized too is like when people get upset about something, like I have to really take the step back and be like, this isn't about me, this is about them. Like this is an internal experience that they're going through that actually has nothing to do with my comedy, because if it did, then everybody would be offended, right? And people wouldn't laugh.
Yeah. Right. Right. Yeah, connected through comedy, I called it, because it's like if we all can agree on, some one thing is funny, now you feel connection. And connection, many say, is the antidote to many addictions. And, addiction can be even like a food addiction or, hanging
Mhm.
with the wrong people. So,
Oh yeah.
if you can laugh about the same thing, that can truly heal a lot of things. I mean, huge ailments, even serious addictions. I know for me, it helps me greatly just
Oh
laughing about the
yeah.
same thing.
Definitely.
So,
Yeah, I think we develop habits that are probably not necessarily healthy, and you know, you can kind of steer them, and like you know, people like going on Facebook and scrolling through and getting upset about things. It's like that's a very unproductive activity. So you know, being able to laugh about things, you know, it if it makes you feel good, you know, from a health perspective, you're right. It can kind of counteract a lot of different things because it's like, what are we masking when we're being angry?
anything offend you?
Does anything offend me?
Yeah,
Not necessarily offend, but like if you do like poop jokes, I'm just like like very uncomfortable by it. It's just like
same.
not my humor. Yeah,
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 no.
yeah. So, yeah, it's like I mean, it's totally humor, you know. But um, I wouldn't say anything offends me because to me, it's about the intent, right? So like if you come out and you say something that's not a joke, then yeah, I'd probably be upset about it, right? But like if you're
Mhm.
coming out and you're like trying to make people laugh, it's like I can understand that. So I'm Jewish, and my favorite thing is when people make fun of my people. Like
No problem.
so it's like yeah, yeah, yeah. So it's I think if I'm getting offended by things very frequently, like I said, I think I have to take an internal look and say, okay, like what is it actually that I'm upset about? Uh
Right.
And if I could find that path, I think that would probably be more productive than just being like that joke's not funny. I'm
Hmm.
upset. Unless it's a poop joke, but I know why. I'm just squeamish. That's literally all it is.
Yeah. God, I just dropped a thought on this. Oh, okay. To me, one of the definitions of comedy is like, if it's wrong, it's right. If it's right, it's wrong. It's like comedy to me is like basically saying the ultimate wrong thing in any scenario. So yeah, to a lot of the population, they're not gonna like that. That's kind of
Mhm.
my way of being in business too. Any situation, it's like, oh, what's the weirdest, most
Mhm.
crazy thing that you can say or could happen in this situation? That's what comes to my mind, and on
Oh
my
yeah.
dad too, a little bit. And that's
Mhm.
what pops out of your mouth. So inevitably, you're gonna upset people.
Oh yeah, but it's also the creative element of, okay, I'm saying the thing that's different from everybody else, right? Because like the things that you hear that are kind of the status quo that people aren't getting offended by, it's like first of all, everybody's getting offended by something because you can go like, especially like just using politics as the main example because that's
Yeah,
usually what
yeah,
people get offended
sure.
by. It's like the left is going to get offended by the right is going to get offended by the left. Um, but it really just if you're going like taking your own creative take, just like the surprise of it, like people are gonna, there's some potential, but again, you got to do what you got to do. And then again, if it's intentful and it's purpose is solely to be funny, you're operating under your own values, so it's like you can't really take it to heart. And which is hard, I think I know it took me a long time to kind of accept that because I would get off stage like get heckled or something, and
Yeah,
um I would be like shaking. So
really.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm a nervous wreck sometimes, so I know I look pretty good on the radio, but
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I mean, you're
oh
you're
yeah,
you're a human, I guess. All right, so switching gears, we only have like 3 minutes left. Now, your
yeah,
sketches brighten my day. I watched a bunch of them on my rowing machine. A lot of them are really
oh
funny.
yeah.
I love the Rambo breaks a pie. Jew versus food is pretty funny. There's like a Jewish guy who has like a challenge with a bagel. But for example, real quick example, I went to the 1997 The Bloody Ape movie. They had a screening, I think, for the first time in 20 years,
Hmm.
made by Keith Crocker, the guy I had on a radio show, really hilarious producer in Exploitation magazine. And I would say it was one of the craziest films with a lot of racist characters. Some of the characters in the film were blatantly racist against, Jews, black people, different things. So when I
Hmm.
got out of the theater, I was like, oh, that was so funny. But two people I was with, and one person said, I didn't know it was racist. I didn't know if it was a racist movie. And I'm like, no, it had racist characters. It doesn't mean the
Hmm.
movie was racist. But these people kind of thought, no, the movie's racist. But I really maintain still that the movie had racist characters and it was not racist. I don't know. What are your thoughts on any of that stuff? Just because a video has a racist characters, does it makes the video racist?
That's a tougher question to
Yeah,
answer. That's definitely a
yeah,
thinker.
yeah.
I don't. I mean, I would imagine it depends on the context of like how you're watching it, right? Because like at the intent, like so I can even give you like Woke Survivor, the original way that it was written. We
Ah,
went back on it and we were like, this is a little racist, right? And then we
uh,
had to read the script because it was like the way that the character was written, we got it to a point where it was like these are just racist jokes. But like having a
okay.
character be racist, I think is, I think if you I think if you like I said, it has to be if it's intentfully written and there's like a reason and purpose for the racism to happen. Not necessarily like, hey, we're gonna write jokes that are racist. It's like, okay, this character is
Yeah,
racist because of this. And
right.
there's an intent. And again, it's not malicious. It's one of those things where it's like, um, you know, I think it's okay, but it would be tough for me to be able to kind of make that diagnosis without actually watching the film. But yeah,
Yeah.
and I also
I'm gonna have
imagine
to send
like,
you this film.
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
gonna
I'll
send it
definitely
to you.
watch it.
Keith is gonna give
Yeah,
me a copy and email, so I'll send it to you. I'm sure he'll be okay with
yeah.
that. Right, Keith?
Oh yeah.
It's a
He's
crazy
listening in the
film. You should
background.
watch it. It's
Okay.
crazy.
Yeah, yeah.
It goes and attacks people, and it's real wild. But anyway, we're at the very end of our interview. It's went by really fast. Could you tell listeners, watchers, anything you'd like them to know? Any final thought? And where to find you? Website? Anything?
Uh Yeah, I mean, follow me at Andrews underscore comedy. That's where all my social media pages, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok. I don't really use TikTok that much, but YouTube and Instagram, you can find me. Grizzly Guys, if you're looking for the sketch stuff, straight sketches, Grizzly Guys comedy. I make music videos. They're comedy music videos. They're called Andrews underscore comedy. Same thing. My album Born of Inversion is coming out pretty soon, so it'll be available for streaming on all platforms. And so if you want to hear some interesting content that might be more
Yeah,
adult themed, just as a forewarning, definitely give me a follow and yeah, any extra following and sharing and liking and all that stuff, like it helps the creator a lot more than people think. So it's one
yeah,
of those things where one share could potentially be the difference between eventually booking
sure.
in 10 years and not.
Right, you're right, you're right. Yeah, that's why it's important if someone's your friend that they actually promote and help you in this life. You not just say,
Mhm.
I love you. I don't care about that. Do something. That would be my final thought. Do something. And my extra final thought is I've done a lot of comedy. I've been like probably shooting comedy on VHS since I was like two or four. I don't really remember, but my point is, uh, these guys, Grizzly Guys Comedy in New Jersey, I think are some of the funniest people I know, definitely in New Jersey and in general. I would rank you guys as probably top three, top four comedy people that I've worked with. So,
Oh yeah.
props. Please keep it up. Please don't quit. More Rambo, por favor. And on that note, more came from the radio with Mark Torres. See you later.